Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this stream of Hearts of Iron 4, where we are going to be starting a new game because the Dutch one yesterday ended, and I just wasn't feeling Old World Blues, I'll be quite honest. I don't know enough about the game to really... There's just no context to anything that I was doing. So we're going to go back to vanilla because Kaiserreich still hasn't been updated, and we're going to do another France run-through. So I think the last time I did France was the very first series of Hearts of Iron I ever did. And obviously things have changed a fair bit since then. So I'm kind of intrigued to see how exactly this works. I also have another couple of things that I've done in the meantime, but I will explain those when we get into it. Despite the devastation of the Great War, France has been on the road to recovery, thanks to a strong economy. However, the Depression has still affected the country, and the new German regime has no interest in paying the war reparations stipulated by the Treaty of Versailles. When the treaty was signed, a French marshal famously remarked that it was not peace, but an armistice of 20 years. Those 20 years are now rapidly running out. So we have the Victors of the Great War thing active right now, which is a population... Oh, sorry, recruitable population reduction, war support reduction, and then a massive decrease in land doctrine research speed. We've got the disjointed government, which is probably the most dangerous one, the one that we really need to get rid of, which is a huge minus 0.8 political power cost increase. Stability, minus 10%, and then a surrender limit, minus 50. So if disjointed government is still active when we go to war, that will probably mean bad things. However, we do have Protected by the Maginot Line, which gives us a 25% planning bonus, but a 25% planning speed penalty. But I'm actually quite okay with that modifier. That's precisely the way I like to play. So let's do this. We're going to be playing as France. One thing which I am going to change, I was kind of wondering, should I strengthen Germany to increase the strength of the Germans in this? I'm not going to. I'm going to do what I did with the Dutch. And we're going to make the United States go fascist. And I'm going to force them to go fascist this time. So I am hoping that they will join the Axis. Last time they were set to random, and they didn't. But this time we're going to set it to fascist. I think these guys I want to leave the same. Just because I actually kind of like the balance of the regular war. And all of this can stay the same too. Okay, so I think that is all I'm going to do. Wait, what was that? Oh, fragmentation. No, I'm not doing that. Yeah, let's jump in. Okay, so first thing I want to point out, because it's super cool and I spent way too much time last night doing this, is I'm going to take a look at my infantry divisions and make a decision about the one I like the most. So the infantry and the colonials look identical. So I'm going to edit you to be this icon. That's going to be my regular division. And then I'm going to edit you to be that one. And you are going to be that one. Okay, so now I should be able to go through my infantry divisions and go you, edit. Then I also want to take a look at the tank divisions. We have just 4 light tanks there, 2 light tanks there. Okay, cool. So if we go to the army, sort by type. In fact, you know what? I'm going to be radical. I'm going to put you all into an army. I'm going to select any tank divisions and motorized divisions. By motorized I mean cavalry, because I probably will upgrade those to motorized eventually. I'm going to put you in a separate unit. Mountaineers we'll put in a separate unit. Garrisons we'll put in a separate unit. Tank. Mountains. Motorized. Tank. Oops, that's not a tank. That's a tank. We actually have a lot of tank units. Crikey. More than I realised. And then you two. Okay. That looks like all of you. Disband. Now, I'm not doing this for any shenanigans. I have a very, very good reason to do that. And it is a super cool reason. Where are you? Bugger. I'm still going to delete you two. Those are cavalry. Those will be fine. We'll add them to this unit. And then these are all colonial infantry. Which we will add to this unit. And we'll sort them out later. Okay, so here's the cool thing. We're going to go edit this division. We're going to change the naming. And we're going to go to subscriber division. Update. And now we're going to train a bunch of divisions, and they're all automatically named after subscribers. How cool is that? Yeah, I spent like 5 hours doing that last night because I couldn't get the damn thing to work. Then in a flash of genius, huzzah! In the 30 minutes before this stream started, I was like, oh, I've suddenly realised what's gone wrong. And fixed it. So we now have a bunch of divisions named after the subscribers, and I have a very, very long list of subscribers. And then the other thing I can do, don't know if I'll do it for this game, but it's a possibility, is we go to the naval staff, create a variant, and then change the name of the navies. There's also a subscriber list for the fleets. Except I've just realised that it has not left a space between subscriber and the name. So the subscriber is like the HMS or whatever, and then name. But okay, I can make that edit. I'm going to do that right now so I don't forget. High ship names. No, that's not one. That's the one, ship names. And I want to add a space after subscriber. There we are. Done. So, worth it, I think. Read the tooltip, double click to select all of the template. I don't think that works in this. You can only select one at a time. See? As soon as you click once, it selects that unit. In this one, it does work, and that's what I was doing. I think. No, I wasn't. Could have done. Anyway, that should be all of that sorted. I'm going to have you guys training. I'm going to have you guys training. That should be absolutely everyone in an army now. It is. Fantastic. Okay, focuses. What are we going to do? Well, disjointed government is removed by getting down to defensive stratagems. So we need to go government reform, support status quo, go with Britain, strengthen government, defensive stratagems, and yes, I am going with the Allies here. We also need to get rid of the Victors of the Great War, which is army reform here. That's going to be the second focus that we do. Oh, that's heavy tank model. So I was going to go with... I have a series of games which in my head, they're not officially called this, are without benefit of hindsight series. And this one, I don't know that the Germans are planning to come through Benelux. I mean, they did it before, so we're going to have an inkling, so we'll fortify it. We're just not going to fortify it to the same level as Maginot, and we'll probably still have a bunch of armoured divisions here whose job is to rush north to try and defend the Dutch and the Belgians when they get invaded. Even though the Germans are most likely going to come in through the Ardennes into Sedan. I'm currently watching the World War II series on YouTube, and it's fantastic. You should totally check it out. But that's all about the fall of France right now, so it's kind of interesting. And in fact, I've already closed it. Google it. World War II. It's a channel named World War II. Really good. Really interesting if you're into World War II history. YouTube link. I close my browsers because it makes my computer run slower. I'll find it. It's right at the top of my list. What? Okay, it's got one of their gobbledygook titles, but it's that, I promise. Really, 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 really worth it. It does like a week-by-week breakdown in real time. So, like, everything that happened this week in 1940 is what they talk about, and then last week was the week before that, etc., etc., etc. It's really cool. And they've just done a special series about the Maginot Line itself, where they actually went out to the Maginot. That is done by the same guy that did World War I, yes, Indian Idel. Same guy, different company. He started his own company basically with one of the producers from the Great War series and did his own thing because he couldn't get the rights to the Great War from the company that started the Great War. Sounds like what the French planned before the Germans were able to power drop soldiers into key forts in Belgium and mess the plan up. I thought the power drops in the Netherlands were more effective than the power drops in Belgium. Because it was the Dutch that were royally screwed over, because they did basically what I did in my Dutch game and defended this line, only to have power drops back here. World War I's coolest in to match the 100-year anniversary, should have waited until 2039. I'm quite happy to have it right now, if I'm honest. I mean, yes, that would have been cool. Okay, so how do we want to do this? Do I want to go straight for government reform and try and get rid of the disjointed government? I mean, we do want to do that as quickly as possible, but I also want to upgrade my industry. Because one of the things that France has is an absolutely amazing industry. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get these two at the very least, then start on government reform. Le Métropole should always come first. We can start by improving our infrastructure to create jobs and enable faster troop deployment. So Franche-Comté, Brittany and Rhône should not have more infrastructure, but otherwise we're good to go with that. Ile-de-France, Bourgogne, no, that's not. Calais. Rhône is one that gets a 2. Bourgogne we can do. Are there definitely no others that provide infrastructure? Just going to double check this. There seems to be a lot less infrastructure, but then again, this is like one of the old focus trees, and it's rather bare bones in comparison to the newer stuff. Alright, industry, construction, production, and mechanical engineering. Huzzah! Whooperstyler, thank you very much for the subscription. Welcome to the channel. And 94th Min, 13 months. That is utterly bonkers. Allez, allez, it's 13 months. Mon Dieu. Thanks for the streams, Mordred. Huzzah! I like it. Thank you very much, guys. I really do appreciate that support. You let me do what I do, and I thank you for it. Okay. I think that we are basically... No, we're not. Navy! How could I forget the Navy? Ooh, yeah. We actually have one of the largest submarine fleet in the game when we start. So let's go and put you over in Brittany. And then Air Forces 2. And I think basically all of my Air Force can basically just start drilling. Let's deselect the 2 aircraft carriers. Bring you lot here. And then start you drilling in Champagne. Oh, and I need to make sure that we get all the ships correctly done. We'll finish off the boats that they've already ordered up, even though this is really inefficient. How much have you been working on this? I wish it said somewhere how much is actually done. It is a 36 heavy ship, so it's modern. Oh man, this is going to take a while. Let's get you done first. March, April, June, October. Oh, yeah, these are even older. These 2 can go to the bottom of the list. And the subs are probably going to be about as quick as the cruisers. No, sorry, it's the destroyers. And I quite like the French submarines, they're quite strong. Especially against the Italians. Okay, good. We have no oil. That's fine. I'm not going to import any more right now. Is this historical France, commie France, or fascist France? Historical. With one difference, America's going to go fascist. So we cannot expect the Americans to bail us out. We've got to do it ourselves. We are the America of the Allies, because I intend to stand! France will not fall on this day. Probably. And we are super duper 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 short on infantry equipment. And also light tanks. Interesting. So the other thing that I do want to try to get is the B1 as soon as possible so I can start pumping out heavy tanks. Because I'm going to follow a fairly similar doctrine to what the French had. Which is they had tanks with their infantry as opposed to separate panzer divisions. So the difference between the doctrines between the Germans and the French, and actually the Germans and the Brits did a similar thing, is tanks for the French were purely infantry support for fighting vehicles. So they are really good with heavy tanks, and actually the French have a design company, which is awesome. +5 armor for heavy tanks is effectively what that's going to be. Means that it's going to be extremely difficult to actually hurt our infantry. Because an entire division will take 50% of the armor of the highest brigade? Company? What the hell are they called? Company? Battalion. The entire division will take the 50% of the armor of the highest battalion. So if we have one single heavy tank, then the rest of his unit is going to have half of his armor. Be careful of Spain. Yeah, this is vanilla. Spain's not going to do anything. They have a huge modifier, which means they can't join factions for a long time. Can the AI win the American Civil War, though? They did yesterday. They did in the Dutch game. And it does keep the Americans out of the war for a while, which is good for us. Good grief, our war support's low. Stability is low. We have decent manpower, which is good. What are our laws? Limited conscription, civilian economy. Okay. Oh, some of you are actually fully trained. Don't want to be wasting equipment, so I'm going to pull you out of there. Put you in a separate unit. And you as well. We should also take a look at our commanders. So Tassigny is easily the best general that we have, especially when it comes to offensive operations, so he'll probably be in charge of my armor and mobile units. You are in fact a cavalry officer, cavalry being motorized and mechanized as well. Then Alphonse Jeune is armor commander, cautious career officer. It's alright. Charles de Gaulle is going to... Actually, Charles de Gaulle's probably going to be my motorized unit, and then maybe Tassigny is going to be the tanks. I think that may be how I do it. Now, the one we are absolutely never hiring is this guy, Hunsinger. World War II channel is convinced that it's basically his fault that France fell in 1940. Him and the politicians. Because he abandoned Maginot. Where the Germans broke through, he abandoned his forts. What happened to the Dutch game? Yes, the Soviets went down to 14 million casualties. And without the Soviets, there was no way we were going to win. Metropolitan France. Done. Several German divisions recently advanced into the Rhineland, marking the first time since the end of the Great War that Germany has forces positioned west of the Rhine. This is a clear violation of the Versailles Treaty, under which Germany is forbidden from militarizing the region. Unless we issue an ultimatum demanding their withdrawal, the treaty will not be enforced. This is war! No, it's not war. This is definitely not war. If war breaks out, we'll suffer a civil war due to the disjointed government. Communist supporters start a civil war. Yikes. No, not doing that. We reject you, diplomatically. Germany has stationed troops in the Rhineland territory close to the French border in a clear violation of the Treaty of Versailles. How could they? Alright, let's get the industrial... I really want to get rid of disjointed government. I hate that modifier. I also really want to get these two. 4 more civilian factories is huge for getting our industry up and running. We're doing industrial expansion. This is just such a big focus. That's 2, 3, 4, 5 factories for free. I'll take it. It's acceptable. Clearly this is just Germany walking in their own backyard. Nothing to worry over. Haha, well said, Dark Phoenix. Electronic mechanical engineering is done. Cool. How's the training of these guys coming? So we have another 18 divisions coming out. And those are going to be the ones that have the heavy tank support. Let's get mechanical computing. So the thing that we're going to need before we start pumping out the 1938 heavy tanks is going to be the tank design. We really do need to get rid of disjointed government soon. Okay. Because I don't really want to be building any heavy tanks until I can't research heavy tanks until we have that. Because designers don't work retroactively. You have to have them before. So, Second London Naval Conference. In order to limit expenditures and avoid another mutually ruinous naval arms race, the great naval powers of the world have signed a number of treaties, limiting the overall size of their fleets and the size of each individual ship. As a signatory of these treaties, we are subject to certain restrictions, but as long as our opponents follow them as well, the balance of power should be maintained. And we are currently below 50% of Britain in capital ship strength. I'm okay with this. France, don't do the thing. Germany does the thing. Right, ships have arrived. Let's group you all together. And we should probably start training you as well. This feels like really weird where I can train everyone even though I have no fuel. Yeah, I'm not going to do this. This feels too weird. So let's stop all of you training. And instead, we're just going to get the big units going. 200 fighters. Let's bring you up to 100 fighters. Let's bring you up to 100 fighters. And I think I'm going to disband you entirely so I can get those fighters into my regular rotation. We are going to disband you and make you a 50. And then where are you? Oh, you're over here, aren't you? Oh, in attack bombers. Let's go here, new wing, attack bomber, 50. Oh, those are just different attack bombers, I see. 50. 50, we may not actually have the planes for this one. Let's get rid of you again. And then you should also be a 50. So I have an idea of how many planes I'm lacking. Let's get the air wings sorted properly. Let's have you and you training. Still out of fuel. Where am I getting my oil? Am I even getting any oil? I don't have any oil. Well, that's a problem. In that case, I'm going to buy some. Buy it from the Brits? No. Buy it from the Netherlands. They need the factories. And from the Soviet Union. It's thinking about it. Workers threaten with strikes. Following the sacking of 2 workers at a large factory, struggles between workers and factory owners have erupted across the country. Workers backed by the Parti Communiste Français have organised and are demanding better conditions, such as higher wages and shorter work weeks. This will greatly reduce the output of our factories and is viewed as a victory for the Parti Communiste Français. We're invited to... Crap, that wasn't paused. I don't know what happened there. Oh well. Election. Communists in government. The communist movement in France, fueled by the broad dissatisfaction amongst the working class and the radical trends amongst the academics, has grown large enough to lead the formation of several parties. After one of these has gained considerable support in the current election, politicians and Parti Radical have started debating whether or not to seek the support in forming a government. Although they consider our democratic institutions to be little more than bourgeois tyranny, they seem eager to make the changes they want to see through cooperating with the government rather than overthrow it. Let's have a broad coalition of democratic parties is preferable. Basic machine tools are done. We are going to go for concentrated industry. Second London Naval Treaty has been signed. Delegations from Britain, France, Italy, Japan and the US have met in December of 1935 to discuss a renewal of the First London Naval Treaty, which restricted the number and the size of the cruisers and the submarines. Negotiations turned quite heated over Italy's war in Ethiopia and Japan's desire to be seen as equal to Britain and the US. Does Germany still start World War II in 38 every time with German forming its faction? Germany skipped Molotov. Oh, our historical focus is off better with man the guns. I don't know, I almost always play with historical focuses on. I just like how the regular game goes. Hey, that guy from California, how you doing? And we have some spare factories, fantastic. Where do we have a large number of factories? We have quite a few down here. Let's do Aquitaine. Not Rhone. Rhone's going to get free ones. Wait, Rhone should already have got their free ones. Franche-Comté, Provence and Limousin. Oh. In that case, Rhone can have some. Probably as a matter of some more priority, because there's a lot of steel there. Hello, Osman. Just spent 8 days without internet access at home. I'm starved for some Twitch action. Oh man, that sounds horrible. We want just one set of those. We'll put them in the center. Deploy.
Écoutez.
Listen up.
Attention.
So happy I got this to work. I have division naming lists now, so I can automatically pull Twitch subs and name divisions after them. Industrial expansion is done, so now I am going to go after disjointed government. I really do want to get the Algerian civilian factories as well, but this is too important. The world has grown dangerous. We can no longer be tied by our own petty squabbles. It is time to empower our politicians and move forwards for the sake of France. And I just realised I haven't actually set what my military factories are producing. So we are getting light tanks at the moment. We're getting motorised artillery, support equipment and a couple of guns. It is almost entirely guns that we need, quite frankly. And I really wish I'd done this 6 months ago. Let's do that, and then have one on artillery. Artillery. Probably the most important early on. Although we are producing absolutely nothing. Most upset about having missed the 3-day war of it, but watching the VODs. No spoilers then. I still feel like I should be buying more oil. What have I got that's using so much? It's not the Navy. Is it just the Air Force? Current consumption. The Army is using 200. Oh, because the Army is drilling as well.
Écoutez.
Although a bunch of them are about to stop.
Gardez vos rangs.
Now we're producing oil. Okay. So let's grab this. We're going to choose the submarines. of which there are many.